That young core is really the key to everything happening right now in Detroit. Players like Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, defenseman Moritz Seider have become the foundation of this rebuild. For the past few seasons, the organization has been focused on developing talent, building depth, and slowly turning the roster into something that can compete again in the Eastern Conference.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. The NHL season is entering its final stretch. Just 5 weeks remain in the regular season, where the Detroit Red Wings are locked in a battle for a wild card spot. Dylan Larkin recently suffered that leg injury, not expected to miss significant time, which is a blessing for him and obviously a blessing for the Wings' playoff hopes. Wings last made the playoffs during the 2015-2016 season. The NHL trade deadline has recently come and now gone. Now, the Wings didn't make any blockbuster deals, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. They were buyers, and they did bolster the team. And depth, as you know, is critical as anything when you look at the postseason. So to recap briefly, Wings brought back left winger David Perron from the Ottawa Senators for a conditional draft pick. Perron won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis in 2019. He helped the Senators make the playoffs last season. The unfortunate part is he's not quite ready to debut yet, as he's recovering from a sports hernia injury in January. So he's still about 2 weeks away, but he is a piece. He's a 19-year NHL vet, played in 158 games for the Wings in 2022, 2024, so a reunion for Perron and the Wings. They also landed a top 4 right shot defenseman in Justin Falk from St. Louis. He's a guy who can play heavy minutes, stabilize the back end, 33-year-old defenseman. He had 32 points in 61 games for the Blues this season. And they also traded left winger Elmer Soderblom to Pittsburgh for a third-round pick. SportsCaster's Noah Shemami. He's from Full Sail University. He breaks down even further the Red Wings trade deadline moves.
The NHL trade deadline wrapped up this weekend, and while some teams made some splashy moves, the Detroit Red Wings definitely made the smartest one. Detroit didn't go all in, but they definitely got better. The Wings brought back veteran forward David Perron from the Ottawa Senators for a conditional fourth-round pick, adding leadership and playoff experience to a young locker room. They also traded for defenseman Justin Falk from the St. Louis Blues, giving Detroit another reliable right-handed defenseman who can play big minutes and help stabilize the blue line, paired with Ben Sherratt. Here's the interesting twist. This deadline around the league was actually quieter than usual. Teams were cautious because of the salary cap and the high price for rentals. That plays directly into Detroit's hands. Instead of mortgaging the future, general manager Steve Yzerman added pieces that help now without sacrificing the long-term rebuild. The Red Wings are still fighting to end a 9-year playoff drought, and these moves show something important. Detroit believes they're close, not sell the farm close, but close enough to add experience, strengthen the defense, and give this young core a real shot down the stretch. And that young core is really the key to everything happening right now in Detroit. Players like Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, defenseman Moritz Seider have become the foundation of this rebuild. For the past few seasons, the organization has been focused on developing talent, building depth, and slowly turning the roster into something that can compete again in the Eastern Conference. Now, the expectation is starting to shift. This is no longer just about development, it's about results. Detroit finds itself right in the middle of the playoff race, battling with teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, Boston Bruins, and surprisingly now the Buffalo Sabres for those final postseason spots. And in a tight race like that, sometimes the difference isn't a superstar acquisition. Sometimes it's depth, it's experience, and sometimes it's having players in the locker room who can understand how intense the final weeks of the regular season can be. That's where someone like Perron can make an impact. He's been through playoff battles before, and he understands what it takes when the games start to matter just a little bit more. Winning the Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues in 2019 is a great example. For a younger team like Detroit, that kind of presence can make a big difference because over the next few weeks, every game is going to feel like a playoff game. Every point matters. And if the Wings can take advantage of the depth they added at the deadline, they might finally take the next step and bring postseason hockey back to Detroit, we call Hockey Town.
There is but one hockey town, and I know fans are eager for the Wings to get back in postseason contention. The run of 25 consecutive years of making the postseason, that stretched from 1990 to 2016. It's the third longest streak in NHL history. Could this year be the year to start a new streak? We're all hopeful, for sure. Next up on the show, we're going to shift to March Madness. Everything you need to know about the Big Ten on the hardwood. Don't go anywhere. Open Mic continues after this.